The Philadelphia 76ers put an exclamation point on an impressive draft class by adding Justin Edwards to the undrafted market. The former third overall prospect in last year's recruiting class became undrafted after a season at Kentucky and could be one of the low-risk, high-reward players across the entire draft. In this video, I'm going to dive into what he brings from a basketball perspective, why he did go undrafted, and a little bit about why I'm optimistic that in the long run, this could be a move that plays out terrific for the Sixers overall. So, for starters, I want to acknowledge a little bit about who Justin Edwards is. That just a year ago, if we want to look back to who he is as a prospect, that at this time, we're talking about him being committed to Kentucky as the third-ranked prospect in the country, the number one small forward, and the number one in PA. That is a Philadelphia kid, a local kid. He went to Emotep Charter. He's a guy that I have not had a chance to watch play in person, but have seen him and talked to him on brief occasions. I was actually really disappointed. There was one game through, shout out to City of Basketball Love, who does some awesome work covering high school hoops in the city of Philly. Went to, and he was a late scratch for injury reasons, so I did not get to catch him, but did see him chilling on the sidelines, got a little interview after. But for Justin Edwards as a basketball player, which is the bigger storyline here, I'm still way more optimistic than is the case. And to acknowledge the stats for why things went a little more south than was the plan at Kentucky, it mostly was the minutes. That he played in 32 games, started 30 of them, played just 21.4 points per game, produced 8.8 points, 3.4 rebounds, 0.9 assists, 0.9 steals, shot 36.5% from 3 on 2.7 attempts per game, 48.6% from the field. The bottom line is sort of in the John Calipari model is he brings in all these top recruits and he lets them dog it out to an extent. That John Calipari is a guy who believes in the thought process of, iron sharpens iron. When you bring all these talents that ultimately the cream rises and these guys who are legitimate NBA prospects do find a way to establish themselves and climb out of that. And unfortunately, in Justin Edwards' case, he was not a part of the cream rising. That we saw guys like Reed Shepherd, who was the third overall pick, and guys like Rob Dillingham, who was the eighth overall pick, each have way more impressive seasons. Now, in Edwards' credit, it was not all bad, but he certainly had his moments. And for example, this game against Alabama, in which he scored 28 points on 10 of 10 shooting, that includes going 7 of 7 from beyond the three-point arc. There also was a stretch in the season where he was shooting over 40% from 3 on increased volume. He essentially started the season shooting pretty slow from beyond the arc, and things sped up throughout the year that he did improve on that in a major way. And when breaking him down as a player, I do genuinely feel that he's a guy whose skill set and style of play is going to translate far better at the NBA level than was the case in college. Now, these are some unique circumstances that he did not hear his name called. And to dive into specifically how unique, that the former Kentucky forward Justin Edwards is the first top 3 recruit to go undrafted as far as I can find on 247 back to at least 2003. It's not pulling up the 1999 to 02 classes, but it's been over 2 decades since a top 3 recruit didn't get drafted. So definitely a little bit strange there, and there's certainly some questions that I would like to dig a little bit deeper into there, but we can only judge off what we know. And to talk a little bit about his skill set, I do want to pull up 2 separate scouting reports here. One from Sixers Adem, which I'll start with here, and then a little more in-depth on the basketball side. But Sixers Adem writes, Edwards, who will turn 21 years old in December, was one of the most highly touted prospects in the nation when he committed to Kentucky. A 5-star recruit who was born in Philadelphia and went to high school at Emotep Institute Charter. Edwards stands at 6'7" and 209 pounds with a 6'10" wingspan. Most of his athletic testing numbers at last month's NBA Draft and Combine were nothing to write home about. Edwards' season with the Wildcats was underwhelming. He averaged 8.8 points per game while playing 21.4 minutes per contest. He made 36.5% of three-point tries on 2.7 attempts per game, 85 total attempts, and 77.6% of his free throws on 1.5 attempts per game, 49 total attempts. Edwards was expected to be drafted in the middle of Thursday's NBA draft, but ultimately did not hear his name called. He was the highest-ranked prospect on ESPN Draft Analysis Jonathan Givony's big board to not be selected this year. The Sixers have tended to be aggressive in pursuing players with similarly noteworthy pedigrees during President of Basketball Operations Daryl Morey's tenure with the team. So this is very much a Daryl Morey move, that this is a player who did not live up to expectations or is believed to be better than he has shown thus far. If you want to flash back to just last year, that Morey took a very similar approach. And in last year's draft, the Sixers had 0 picks whatsoever, but they did attack the undrafted free agent market and brought in Terquavion Smith and Ricky Council IV. And the jury is still out on what those players ultimately grow to be. But we did see Ricky Council make a little bit of an impact during last year. Every opportunity he got, he did shine. And to call a spade here, that Justin Edwards is significantly more talented than either one of those guys. That still brings the question of why why didn't things click at Kentucky in a way that is a little bit more conducive to winning, or at least showing what you can do as a basketball player. He certainly does fall into the category of players that I label as theoretical basketball players, that he's got the tools, he's got the look, he's got the feel, but it's just missing a little something. It's way more theoretical than they're the substance for how he impacts a game. But he's also the type of guy that you take that swing on, and if it clicks, you found yourself a damn good basketball player. Now, to dive into a little bit deeper of the scouting report, I'm going to break this into two parts. Start about these strengths here, that this being by NBADraft.net, and they write that at 6'7", Edwards has the height and length NBA teams crave at the wings. His lefty jump shot is smooth, and when he sets himself, can knock down the outside shot. Can get hot from the outside, excels as a catch-and-shoot threat, and generally does a good job of sliding into open spots to make himself available to passers. Keeps good balance when spotting up, getting his feet set as the ball arrives, and is ready to shoot the ball on the catch. Smooth athlete that can elevate quickly when going to the rim, will finish transition opportunities with dunks when given the opportunity, an underrated cutter without the ball, but he doesn't utilize this skill as much as he should. Can hit pull-up jumpers when the mid-range, when he gets his run off the three-point line, primarily when going to his left. When he goes to his right, he generally uses it as a spin move to get back to his left and attacks the paint from there. Has active hands on defense and does a good job of using his length to impact passing lanes. Has shown some ability to jump passing lanes and create transition opportunities. So a lot on the strengths there. A bit of kind of my interpretation of that. Number one, I didn't acknowledge that he was a lefty until now, but he does have that left-handed release point. I actually think he has really good shooting footwork. That's one of the things that I've been most complimentary of for Jared McCain, that you see him doing the work beforehand, before the ball gets here, to load up and let it fly. I think Edwards does a really nice job of that as well. I think Edwards is a little more dynamic off the dribble, that he's a guy that can take a guy. He can rise up and just dunk it. I think he's a guy who has the tools and has to figure out who he wants to be as a basketball player. That a lot of these characteristics, the catch and shoot ability, the athleticism, the capability to dunk, to get out in transition, these are all traits that apply. You just got to figure out how to make it work. And I think for Edwards, this is a bit of a reality check, that the path seemed to be paved for him to be easy lottery pick, certified top 5, top 10 pick was the expectation going into that year, and it did not manifest itself. That's not how things played out. So you got to pick yourself up and figure things out from here. We will see if he responds to that positively. Now, to dive into some of the weaknesses and a little more on why he did drop all the way out of the draft completely, it says, didn't produce at the NCAA level, averaging 8.8 points, 3.4 rebounds, and less than an assist per game. Played fewer than 20 minutes in 14 of his 32 games. Sporadic and streaky three-point shooter. Lacks the ability to create his own shot or generate opportunities for others. No real ball handling ability. Despite his length, did not rebound well on a consistent basis, although he did show flashes of ability in spurts. Very awkward when handling the ball with his right hand. Loose handle and struggles to make any sort of move going right. Struggles to create any sort of separation from an even average defender. Physical defenders can knock him off his spot and make him uncomfortable. Loses the ball often in transition, can be bothered by active hands, floats on the perimeter too much, has poor anticipation, which makes it difficult to pass his teammates open, makes plays only as he sees them unfold, leading him to missing opportunities, not a contested shot maker. Most of his makes come on open looks from the perimeter, needs to become a better screener to take advantage of pick and pop opportunities. Yeah, but other than all of that, he's great. There was a lot there that was pretty negative. I do hear it. I do see that it's a lot of these are cleanup situations, that it's improve your right a little bit, and we're talking differently. And by the way, a guy like Jaylen Brown, who was just crowned Finals MVP and is the highest paid player in the NBA, still can't dribble with his left. So there are exceptions to all of this. Now, my honest reality and assessment of this is Justin Edwards isn't this potential future star that he was once praised and expected to be. But what he still can be is a very impactful NBA role player or guy that is a complementary piece. I think if Edwards can swallow that pill, look himself in the mirror, and figure out that the best direction is more or less of this 3-and-D archetype of wing, he's going to be set himself up for a great career. And those are the guys that not only the Sixers have been in search of, but are the premium across the entire NBA. That is a worthwhile player to take a chance on in the undrafted market and giving him a two-way contract. We will see ultimately what he is made of. Obviously, I think he's a guy who everyone will have their eyes on in Summer League because, as I mentioned, I'm still pretty optimistic that he can just straight up play better at the NBA level than is the case in college. And to elaborate on what exactly I mean by that, some of the differences when comparing the NBA and college, the style of play, pretty drastically different in my opinion. And there are the clear ones, obviously 35-second shot clock at the college level, 24 at the NBA. When you look at, the length of the three-point line is slightly different, but more stylistically is what I'm talking to. And the reason that I say that is in college, you run a play to create a shot. in the NBA, you run a play to create a matchup. That you want guys to create that and they take advantage. That's how good these basketball players are. Justin Edwards is a guy who falls under that hooper category. That if you drop him on a blacktop anywhere, he's going to look like the best player at that park. That's who Justin Edwards is. He's more cut from that mold, and I don't think that quite was able to show face at Kentucky there. I do think the NBA Summer League is a place where that will be put on full display, so it wouldn't shock me if we revisit this video in a couple weeks once Summer League is going down, that Edwards is a guy popping off the page to people. We'll see ultimately what his NBA future has in store. I do think that there is going to have to be some soul-searching and reflection on his part for what he wants his role to be and what areas of the game need to be cleaned up. But from the Sixers' perspective, this is the exact type of player that you should be taking these swings on. A local kid, a guy with incredibly high pedigree and expectations that he did not reach, played at a blue blood program, and by the way, the track record for betting on underperforming Kentucky guards, pretty good in that direction as well. So we'll see what things have to go from here, but I am thrilled at the Justin Edwards edition. I do think this is a guy that has an NBA future, and to add him on a two-way deal, a guy that I think I wouldn't have been shocked about if Stowe was drafted in that late first round. He does have all the tools and all the abilities, and you can't teach that type of size and athleticism. So we'll see what all happens from here, but I'm very excited about this selection or this addition through the free agent market there. But let me know if you guys are on the same page as me in the comments. Make sure you're smashing that subscribe button as we're going to have plenty more content. We are about to kick off the free agency period where all the madness will go down for the Sixers. So make sure that you are tapping along with us for the rest of the ride, and I'll be talking with you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.